Welcome in, everybody, to Monday night's Talkin' Ball. I'm Bobby Burton, and welcome back to Jerry Hamilton. Jerry, how are you feeling today, buddy? You getting feeling a little bit better?
I actually wasn't sick. I heard there wasn't anything going on last weekend, so I went down to the Keys for a quick little vacation.
I'm glad you feel.
No, I caught some 24-hour bug. I'm going to blame it on Bergstrom Airport, but I pulled double duty. I was at the airport Friday. Went up for AAU basketball, TABC Friday night, Saturday. Sean Miller, every college was there. All the guys, Texas guys, top targets were playing. And Saturday mid-afternoon, I started feeling bad, like really bad. And it was an arse kicker, but we're making our return. But most people on ontexasfootball.com say I need to go away again because a 5-star guy committed while I was in the bed with pillows over my face.
That's Richard Wesley, who Jerry's talking about, defensive end out of Los Angeles area, Sierra Canyon. Jerry, this episode of Talkin' Ball brought to you by our friend Dr. Brett Robin, the former Longhorn running back. We'll talk a little bit more about him in a few minutes. We're going to take your questions tonight, as we often do here on Talkin' Ball. Also talk a little bit more about what we've learned today. There's been some movement, so to speak, as far as timelines being announced by various players. One of those, Jerry, a guy that visited Texas 2 weekends ago, Samari Matthews, who had originally said he was going to announce in August, now moving it up to early July. This is maybe the top cornerback on the board for the University of Texas. Is that a good sign for the Longhorns, in your opinion?
Yeah, I don't know if it's a good sign necessarily. I mean, I think he knows where he's probably wants to go right now. And he had originally had an August 12th deadline or announcement date. And that was a long way out for a kid that's done with visits. And, I'm not surprised he moved it up. Question there is this: can South Carolina do enough to keep him close to home? Because that's really what this is going to come down to, is South Carolina's battling to keep him kind of in the region. If he doesn't pick South Carolina, I think he's going to Texas, and I do think Texas has been in a pretty good spot. We'll see if South Carolina did enough, or can over the next 2 weeks. Because look, these recruitments, these schools, even if they feel like they're behind, Bobby, it's not like they're throwing the towel up in the air and walking away.
Couple of other players that announced their decision timelines today were Trenton Henderson, the defensive end out of Pensacola. He's going to announce his decision in June, July timeframe as well. We'll have that date here in a second. And then also July 2nd. And then also Caden Prothro, the tight end, Jerry, out of Georgia, another Texas player, another player Texas going hard at right now as a tight end. The other tight end that Texas apparently really wants is Hezzy Kent, also from the state of Georgia. What's going on with those two guys, Henderson and Prothro, to your knowledge at this point?
Yeah, Henderson, he dropped his final 3 today at Florida, Texas, and LSU. Everything we hear is Florida was the leader headed into the Texas visit, and Texas is making it. Really could come down to Florida, Texas, and I don't want to discount LSU. It's recruiting, right? But I think there'd be some surprise, even on the Florida side, if Texas wasn't their competition at the end of the day. But, I don't want to sit there and say, LSU doesn't have a shot. But I think I'd be a little surprised if Florida and Texas were ahead of LSU in the final 3. But Florida's had probably the most confidence in this race. But I know Texas had a great visit with him. Him and Richard Wesley played opposite positions, by the way. That's one thing to note, is that when Richard Wesley committed, I think there was some. I think I had a DM or two. I don't think I even responded. But did that knock Texas out with Henderson? It shouldn't knock Texas out with Henderson. They play different spots at edge.
Guys, also just in, literally about an hour ago, Damari Sibian, defensive lineman out of New Jersey, says he will be announcing his decision this coming Friday. The 27th at 5 o'clock Eastern, 4 o'clock Central. Jerry, what's going on at defensive tackle now for the University of Texas? They've got 3 commitments. Vodney Cleveland joined the class on Saturday. young man out of Birmingham, Dylan Berryman out of Monroe, Louisiana, as well as Corey Wells out of Petal, Mississippi. Damari Simeon, is he? I mean, is this a guy Texas wants at this point?
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
Because they've got a bunch of different guys.
Oh, yeah. No, look, Damari Simeon, Kendall Gerville, James Johnson. Texas would take any of those guys. My bet is if Texas is has their way, they probably get 2 of the 3 and close up shop. Now, I mean, 5 interior defensive linemen in the class could go to 5. There's no doubt it could go to 5. They're not turning down 2 of these 3 guys if 2 of them wanted in. No chance. They'd take 2 of these guys. And I think Texas has been trending for Simeon. He did end up making his visit to Ohio State. I'd reported, I can't remember, was that Thursday? I'd heard he probably wasn't going, changed his mind, did make the visit. I still hear some positives with Texas. We'll see which way it goes. 3 days left, or 4 days left till he makes his decision. But I think Texas has done really well in this recruitment. I think the academic athletic combination has been pretty good. And I really think that's why Ohio State had to push so hard to get him on that visit when it didn't look like they were going to get him, is because Texas and Michigan had kind of jumped out to the front of that recruitment. And as far as Kendall Gerville, look, I think Texas has remained – ever since I was down at Fort Myers High, I thought Texas was – and he said it on video. He's always been a real transparent kid in this process. He said on the video that Texas was his favorite. And I think Georgia and Florida – have made big runs at it, and I think as we enter this week now after the visit, I think Texas is in a pretty good spot, but you still have to close it out. James Johnson, I think that was more Georgia lean headed into the Texas visit. I think there were some people that thought he might end up at Miami or Florida. Maybe he still will, but I think headed into last weekend, Georgia was probably out front, and I think Texas is a place that he really likes. But I've said it's kind of how the dominoes fall here. It's hard to imagine all 3 of those guys pick the same school. But I'm here to tell you, if they all 3 did, I don't see Sark and Kenny Baker not picking up the phone.
All right. Before we get to the super chats as well as some questions from folks, I want to say thank you to our sponsor. Special thanks to Dr. Brett Robin at Austin Orthopedic Institute for sponsoring On Texas Football Monday night. Dr. Robin, a former Longhorn running back, knows what it takes to stay in the game, and he's here for athletes of all ages, specializing in musculoskeletal health. Dr. Robin treats joint pain and injuries with a conservative approach first, but also offers advanced surgical options, including arthroscopic procedures, fracture management, and total joint replacements. With convenient offices in Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen, Dr. Robin is accepting new patients now. If you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic, give Dr. Robin a call, 512-856-1000. That's 512-856-1000. Get back to your active lifestyle and doing what you love. Dr. Brett Robin is your orthopedic specialist in Central Texas, accepting new patients now. All right, Jerry, we got a super chat here. Let's start with Tucker Foster. Jerry, I hope you're feeling better. How are you feeling about turn-time in Texas?
Well, I think Texas is feeling better about turn time than I was feeling on Saturday and Sunday. But I think Michigan's in the game here. I've always believed he'd stay close to home, and I could always end up being wrong on that. But I think there's some positives around Austin, but there's been positives for a long time around turn time. So if somebody pulled the rug, I think it'd be surprising in Austin. I even think the A&M side feels like Texas has a better shot than they do at entering this week. I mean, he's scheduled to announce July 4th. Stanford, A&M, obviously Michigan and Texas, but there's been a lot of things in Texas' favor. We'll see if they can close it out, though. I think they had a great visit weekend.
Juan Garza, Jerry, what do you think of Richard Wesley's commitment and Malachi Lee? What's his position? Wesley, the defensive end we talked about yesterday, committing to the Longhorns, somewhat of a surprise. Lee, the offensive lineman out of Kamehameha High School in Honolulu.
Yeah, Malachi Lee, I think, is going to be one of the more interesting decisions because, Michigan was the favorite early on, and they get the last official visit. Georgia had him on campus for an official in April, then came back for an unofficial June 13th weekend, or 13th weekend. That's a lot of travel from Honolulu to Athens. I mean, and they've traveled so much in this process, but I continue to hear Texas or Michigan. So we'll see. Georgia got a big time offensive tackle commitment the other day. They have 4 guys committed on the OL. And I'm not sitting there saying Georgia can't win it, but I do. There's more you hear about Michigan versus Texas at the end of the day. And obviously he's the first of these 3 offensive linemen that I think are really still in play. I think Zaden Crimpin is a long shot at this point to where that's kind of trending and winding through the road. It feels like to me. And Malachi Lee's the first guy set to make a decision of Malachi Lee, Turntine, Ojo. Ojo doesn't have a date out yet. Turntine's July 4th, but I do expect Ojo to be early July.
Lee is the 27th, and Turntine is July 4th.
Yeah.
So 1 week apart. Lee this coming Friday, Turntine a week from Friday. So that should give you an idea. What position do you think Malachi Lee plays? Is he a tackle for sure?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he may be a right tackle, but he's a tackle for me.
Okay. Gotcha.
I mean, it kind of goes back to the whole, a lot of people thought Nick Brooks even people listed him as an interior offensive lineman in high school. But every college that recruited him, they had him pegged as a tackle. And that's kind of already been proven out. I think Malachi Lee's the same. Doesn't mean the guy can't play guard, but I'm saying where they have him pegged in recruiting.
Jerry, you were sick yesterday, so I didn't get a chance to talk to you during the live stream about Wesley's commitment. What did you think of his commitment and his pledge to Texas?
I love his upside, and I think it may take him a little time. Look, I think Trenton Henderson's the dude at edge that I've seen in this class. I mean, I think he's just different. I think he is a top 10 level guy in the country from the guys I've seen. I think he's pretty special. I think Richard Wesley maybe is on a little longer runway. Of course, he's a reclass to 2026 from 27, but his frame, he is going to be a big guy. When you see him in person, he's 6'4.5", 6'5", 245, and he is not even close. The way he is, I'm not going to say he's going to look exactly like Lance Jackson does, but I think he could look similar. 6'5", 270, 275, that power edge player that can rush the passer but can also play the run.
Gotcha. All right, we'll watch a little bit of Richard Wesley's film for those of you that haven't seen him while we talk a little bit more recruiting here. Matt, our producer, will bring that up. Joshy Manning, thanks for the super chat, Joshy. Jerry, pumped up on joy mode. Let's go. He could have used it yesterday, Joshy.
Yeah, I could have used it for sure. I don't travel with it, thank goodness.
Freelance Society, Bobby, I share the same birthday as your dad. My dad's birthday is today as well, June 23rd. Thank you, and happy birthday to you, Freelance Society. Guys, y'all think Cedric Baxter could redshirt? That's an interesting one, Jerry. You don't think so? You're shaking your head.
Only if he has a setback of some sort or gets kind of re-injured or something. I don't think so. I'm kind of the opposite on Baxter. If he goes for 600, 700 yards after he makes his return this season, has a pretty good season, I think he should go pro. He had a devastating knee injury. If he comes back strong, I think, and has a good year, I think he should probably go pro.
Freelance Society, happy birthday, buddy. Can't wait to see you at a tailgate this year. All right, this one from Nathan. Which edge does Jamarian Carlton play? Carlton, a young man out of Temple, visited Texas a week ago. Was at Baylor this week. He has a July commitment time frame as well. Is he the opposite edge of Wesley, or is he what's his situation?
Yeah, I think
he's film, by the way, of Richard Wesley.
I think he's opposite. I think he's more opposite Wesley. I think he'd play more on the same side as the Trenton Henderson would.
Okay.
I see that was good BGO by Wesley. There's his upside. I think it's not as consistent with him, but you see on that first clip just where he can go as a player in my estimation. This is against Modern Day, by the way. That's against really good players. So and I love his motor. I think that's where his upside. I think he's a really good player. Don't get me wrong. I think Trenton Henderson may just be like a top 10 guy. But he gets he lines up wide, gets a nice head start on guys. He plays against really good competition. I think that's Sarah. I think there's again Modern Day. So that's Malachi Lee at right tackle, by the way. That's against USC commitment. I'm pretty sure USC signee. But I like he looks athletic in his stance. He's a good flat back guy. He's got good BGO for his size. See there, he didn't really round it. That's kind of part of his development. That wasn't a maximized pass rush. So I just think he's got some technical things. I think he reclassed from 27 to 26. Trey Lewis, his trainer out there, does a good job with him. But it's just a natural progression for him where he's going to be. I think he's a really talented prospect.
Yeah, it's gonna take these guys that reclass. It takes a little time.
Yeah,
usually. It's Zealous Hicks. As good as he came in to Texas, it may take some time for the Georgia native, just based on playing time. Let's go to this one from Joseph Curtis. Jerry, any new running backs Texas is looking at? Is there a tight end that you'd prefer in this class? Let me take the running backs piece. They've put feelers out to a number of running backs in the state of Texas and out of state at this point. We'll see if anything starts to get interesting. I'll put it that way. Yeah. I think that they're going to wait at least until they know what Xavier Crowell is going to do, young man out of Alabama that is expected to announce on Thursday between Texas, Alabama, and Georgia.
And let's put this out. I don't think Alabama getting a running back commitment today affects Crowell. Alabama was going to take 2 in a class. This was a kid that, he was hurt last year. He's not going to affect Crowell. Crowell's on the level. He's going to go where he wants to go. He's not worried about it.
He wasn't worried about it if Texas took 2. Why would he worry about it if Alabama's going to take 2? Who is there a TE now that you would prefer in the class? Hezzy Kent and Caden Brothrow look like the 2 primaries. Kiawe Brown out of California may be 3rd on that list at this point. What are the thoughts at tight end, Jerry?
I think that's pretty much it. I think Hezzy Kent is an inline guy who is a bigger frame guy, and then Prothrow is your pass catcher. I mean, I think that's where it's at. So do I have a preference in that? I mean, if Texas struck out on the downfield pass catching threats in this class, I don't think it's at the end of the world. I mean, Nick Townsend and Emory Winston in the last class. I think Hezzy Kent's an interesting prospect to me, having seen him in person, because everybody's like, oh, he's 295, whatever. But a guy that's 6'5", 275 that's got really good feet that could play H-back, could play inline tight end, I think that could have real value. And I think there's a reason Florida and Texas are fighting hard for him. And a lot of people just think, oh, he's just going to be an offensive tackle. I don't think that way necessarily.
Jerry, one of the guys Texas brought in a couple weeks ago, Devon Benjamin, the safety out of California, one of the top players in the country, like Richard Wesley. He's a reclassification as well from the class of 2027. Odds we get both him and Matthews in the class. Matthews is a true corner. Benjamin more of a safety/nickel prospect. What are your thoughts on those 2 guys at this point? We talked a little bit about Matthews already.
Yeah, barring a major change, Benjamin was at Washington over the weekend. But I think Oregon and Texas have been the 2 most talked about. I think Oregon, Oregon maybe knew about his talents before a lot of other people on the West Coast. They've been on him the longest, like really been priority recruiting him the longest. So I think they're the team to beat and they have been once USC was knocked out. But I think Texas has had 2 great visits with Benjamin. But that's a recruitment that's a little more quiet than some others. There's a little more intrigue with that one. You don't see a lot of picks in the industry. You don't see a lot of chatter going on about him like some other guys.
Interesting. All right, this is Monday night's Talkin' Ball. I'm Bobby Burton, joined by Jerry Hamilton. Jerry was sick over the weekend, but he's back in the saddle now. Aloha Traveler. Thank you. Wait. What is he going to do? What is he going to do? Has he got something new? Is it the same?
Oh, no. It's the lampshade.
He's still the lampshade.
I still got the lamp. I haven't partied, but here's the lampshade.
Okay.
We still got the
Aloha, fellas. Is it my imagination, or are we seeing in real time Texas concentrate their NIL more in the trenches, QB and defense overall, and counting on Sark to develop and scheme skill players without overpaying for guys like DeCorian Moore? I think I would say this, and knowing a little bit about that situation. I take DeCorian Moore out of it because I think Texas wanted DeCorian Moore really, really badly. But do I think that Texas is putting more resources towards the lines of scrimmage and certain positions at this point? The absolute answer is yes. That doesn't mean they're not going to take flyers on guys they think are legit guys at positions. So it's not to the absence of other spots, but yes, you're on the right track. Aloha Travel is the best way I can put that. You agree with that, Jerry, based on what you've been told?
Yeah, I think so. And edge, I think, is a big one in this class. I think linebacker is a big one in this class. And yeah, I do. I agree. But at the same time, if there's a great player out there, there's a great player out there.
Okay. All right. Jedi Master Bevo with this one. Jerry and Bobby, hit rate this week for Texas targets who are making commitment announcements. So that list for this week, Jerry.
Yeah.
Xavier Crowell.
Who's considered an Alabama lean, but Texas feels like they're in it.
Yeah. Malachi Lee.
Total wild card, and nobody knows where he's going yet. And I'm talking about the people who are recruiting him.
Probably not Alabama of the four. So Texas is one of two or three for Crowell. Alabama, Georgia, we think, with Texas. Malachi Lee, we think Michigan, Georgia, Texas.
But maybe even Michigan, Texas more so.
Okay, gotcha. Chase Calicut is also on the 27th.
I think that's Texas or Georgia.
Okay. And then Sunday is Xavier Griffin, young man out of Gainesville.
Alabama or Texas, unless Ohio State or FSU does something. But he was at FSU this weekend, I believe. But I think that's more Alabama, Texas as of right now.
So they could go. I mean, obviously, that's four guys expected to go. Oh, and Damari Simeon is also on Friday. I forgot.
Which I think Texas has done really well in that recruitment. I think it's Texas, Michigan.
You think they go 2 of 5, 3 of 5?
I think Texas would be happy with 2 of 5. It would be celebratory with 3 of 5.
Gotcha. That's the caliber of players they're recruiting.
That's the whole thing. I mean, yeah. I mean, look. I mean,
players.
If Texas went 5 of 5, I could just do the show with the lampshade on and never take it off. By the way, if Texas goes 4 of 5, I will do a whole show with the lampshade on.
No thanks. Your sound is muffled at that point, big guy. There's Rod.
What is CJ?
CJ's wearing a party hat? What the heck?
What is that?
Oh, my God.
I'm glad CJ brought something out.
I give up. Is Texas not involved with Buford linebacker Anthony Davis? They were early, but they haven't been of late. Is that accurate?
Yeah, they haven't been of late. I think once they got in on the Xavier Griffin recruitment, even though they're a little different players, and then Kosio Paul, who I think Texas is doing well with, and Calvin Thomas, once he really emerged in state, and they went back and took a look at him in May. He visited this weekend as well. We don't have dates on those guys yet, to my knowledge.
Paula or Calvin Thomas have not put out a date yet.
And by the way, I think Texas would take both of those guys if they want to come.
All right. Griff Holler, we're in a much better position regarding recruiting compared to this time last year. I hope we can keep it up. Texas at 15 commitments right now, Jerry. Last week, Matt, our producer, made a great graphic and compared side by side where Texas was at the same time last year. Last week, Texas was at 13 commitments before Vodney Cleveland and Richard Wesley committed over the weekend. And the same time a year ago, Texas was at 10. Well, Texas also did not have a kicker, a punter, and a deep snapper committed.
Right.
So really, Griff, a week ago, they were very similarly situated. I would say this. I feel like Texas has more lines in the water
yes,
right now, than they did a year ago.
Yeah, because if you look back on last year's class, Jonah Williams was considered a long shot right now. Justice Terry wasn't really in it.
Grayson Littleton was not a thought.
Was not a thought yet.
Zealous Hicks wasn't in the class because he was 27.
Jalen McCutcheon was leaning another way. Josiah Sharma, who knows? Zealous Hicks wasn't a consideration. So, I mean, yeah, this class, I think who the guy, and that doesn't mean Texas won't have a couple of guys senior year, because they will. But I think you have a better idea of where the class could go headed into late August this year versus last year. Now, July 4th is not a date to be remembered last year. Sorry, Josie.
Kenneth Cassidy, Bobby, and Jerry. If Texas doesn't sign a stud running back in this class, should they just wait and get 2 running backs in the next portal? What do you think, Jerry? Portal, or wait and see what they got with the guys they got on hand?
Yeah, that's a tough one right now. It's hard to say. I mean, what if Trey Weiser doesn't go pro? That's tough one to say right now. I don't think Texas wants to go without a running back in a high school class. Period.
Well, what if Weiser and Baxter don't go pro?
Yeah.
Do you really go to the portal then?
No.
Yeah. All right. Justin Yarbrough, which recruit on the radar are people not talking about enough? I think there are 2 for me. And I'm going to say them. One is Caden Finley, young man out of Alito, the son of Jermichael Finley. I know a lot of talk is out there. I think he's better than his recruiting rankings. And I'm going to say this, Cozy Okpala. I really, really like the linebacker out of Maiden Creek. I think people underestimate. They watch his film, and then they underestimate his size. Jerry, if he's really 6'2" and 225, 230, he moves like a 200-pounder.
Yeah.
He moves like, you know what I mean by that? And though that kind of guy is I'll give you a comparison that I was talking about with somebody yesterday. Brad Spence.
Yeah.
Out of Plano that Texas just got in the portal. Yep. Very similar movement skills and size. So he's a really good mover, and he has really good size. What are your thoughts on your recruit on the radar that people are not talking enough about?
I would agree with Okpala. I mean, look, Penn State doesn't come to Texas very often. Yep. You think they've had some pretty good outside backers at Penn State, and James Franklin's done a pretty good job in eval and development. Okpala's probably a guy. The other one I've said all along is Malachi Lee. If you look at recruiting, guys who spend an entire day in May going to Hawaii, to Honolulu, to see somebody, when you're at Georgia and Texas and Michigan, that guy, they all think that guy's a total stud player, because you don't have as many days on the road and days out as you used to have. And to use a full day, 3 of your blue bloods use a full day to go to Honolulu to see, and Alabama, so say 4. Malachi Lee, I would think the colleges have him ranked a hell of a lot higher than the services do.
There you go, guys. John Lauber, thanks for the super chat. I do not see your question. If you want to re-enter it, we will definitely get to it. But thank you for your super chat. We appreciate it very much. Jerry, this one from Champ Bailey. Is Mark Bowman? Oh, John, here it is. Sorry about that. Any more highs going to happen the next couple of days?
Definitely possible. We have 3 out there right now.
Just throw it out there, Jerry. Just say it. Champ Bailey, is Mark Bowman recruitment completely shut down?
Can I say something? Isn't this up to Deloitte?
Deloitte. It may be up to the NIL Go.
I mean, it depends on if USC had the loopholes before anybody else did.
Yeah, we'll see.
And if they did, tip of the cap to them.
Fair enough. Retired working man. Can you see the number 1 class again? I say yes. Boy, they're going to have to sign a lot, because USC is already at 30 and still have a couple, I think 3 more guys to go that they're trying to get in the boat. And it's a pretty stout class at this point. We'll see if they keep them all.
Right.
But could you see a number 1 class for the University of Texas, Jerry?
Well, let's see. So Texas has 3 5-star level prospects, guys that I could see finishing ranking, and I think Diabell is going to be a lot. And then you have Jermaine Bishop and Richard Wesley. But then it's how many of those guys outside that you add to it. Because the reality is I think Texas is probably going to need to hit 5 or 6 5-stars to have the number 1 class this year. Because USC
So they get a Tyler Atkinson or a Xavier Griffin,
Trenton Henderson.
Henderson.
I mean, that's pretty much Felix Ojo's a highly ranked player. So I mean, they have the 5 stars out there, and Lamar Brown's recruitment is going to carry on into the season. But a lot of that could be where's Texas at in defensive line come? Oh, I don't know, mid-July, early July here. But so there's enough 5 stars out there, but I think it's going to take 5 or 6 5-stars in this class to overcome what USC's doing and potentially what A&M's doing.
Yeah. They're going after it hard over in Aggieland. Dim Boys, CGK, who has the best odds to start in the Texas class of 2025? So last year's class, what do you think, Jerry? Best odds to start.
Does being a starter on special teams count?
No, I don't think they like Jonah Williams taking
Grayson Littleton. I mean,
no, I don't think so. I wouldn't think so. I'll tell you, I think that's the best
one.
What's that?
That's a tough one. It'd probably be a wide receiver if there was an injury.
How about this? If you're one injury away, who are the guys? Because I don't think there's a starter that's predestined.
No, I think if you're an injury away, it's wide receiver.
Jonah Williams would then probably be in that discussion. Cade Phillips might be in that discussion.
For Jonah, it's all going to depend on how quickly he picks up everything since he wasn't there for spring. Yeah. I mean, he was in some meetings, but he wasn't concentrating. He still hasn't done it on the field. How quickly he picks things up. Cade Phillips was there for the spring. Yeah. Maybe Grayson Littleton is a nickel if there's an injury.
If there's an
injury.
Had
a great spring.
Yeah. Nick Townsend / Emory Winston. I think Dalen McCutcheon if DeAndre Moore gets injured. That would be my guess. James Simon may actually be a guy if someone gets injured, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. That's a good question. I think that's a fair question because I don't know the answer. I mean, I don't think anybody knows the answer. One of the things Jerry and I talked about doing, and I think we should do it. Look, there's a recruiting class ranking and how players are ranked before they arrive on campus. Re-ranking the players in a class once they get to campus sometimes reveals some very interesting thoughts that we have. So if we re-rank the class of 2025 right now, I don't know. I mean, I think the 2 highest ranked guys actually, for me, might be Jonah Williams and the big tackle, Nick Brooks. I mean, and that includes Justin Terry and Lance Jackson and Cade Phillips and great. I mean, they've all looked good, but Nick Brooks, he's
one I went for. Well, and I was thinking about starting a guy that could start. Look, Trevor Gooseby rolls an ankle and misses half a game, maybe misses a game. Well, Nick Brooks is number 2 at left tackle right now. And I don't think there'd be any hesitation there as of right now.
Craig Johnson, we talked a little bit about this, Craig, previously, but I think it's good to reintroduce the subject. Will Texas catch any flack from Texas high school coaches for recruiting out of state more? Texas high school coaches seem to get butthurt when Texas goes out of state. I think that was true more 10 years ago,
right,
than it is today, and even more so 20 years ago. It's been a subtle decline, Craig, in my opinion. Now, I think that there's 15 commitments, and I believe 8 of them are out of state, are in state, and 7 are out of state. Is that correct? Somebody
Yeah,
correct me.
I mean, look, if the high school coaches are mad, they're mad at everybody. A&M has 14 out-of-state commitments out of 19 right now.
Yeah.
I think what's changed is the high school coaches aren't involved in the recruiting as much as they used to be. I think due to NIL and agents being involved. I think the biggest thing now is high school coaches just don't want their kids transferring out. So they're more hands-off. They just want their kids
Transferring out of their own high school.
Out of their own high school. Sorry, yeah, I didn't say that right. I think guys are more hands-off. They don't deal with recruiting as much. Every high school I go to, the guys that I've known a while are like, hey, we don't really care. We're out of this. We just want these guys to develop, be here, and play with us. We'll let them, the parents, and their agent handle it. But that's what recruiting's gotten to. The high school coaches isn't as involved as they used to be.
All right. Before Craig, thank you for that question. Before we get to the next super chat, it's a big one, Jerry. You may get your lampshade on. Special thanks to Dr. Brett Robin at Austin Orthopedic Institute for sponsoring On Texas Football. Dr. Robin, a former Longhorn running back, knows what it takes to stay in the game, and he's here for athletes of all ages, specializing in musculoskeletal health. Dr. Robin treats joint pain and injuries with a conservative approach first, but also offers advanced surgical options, including arthroscopic procedures, fracture management, and total joint replacements. With convenient offices in Austin, Georgetown, and Killeen, Dr. Robin is accepting new patients now. If you're looking for a top-notch orthopedic, give Dr. Robin a call, 512-856-1000. That's 512-856-1000. All right, Jerry. Are you ready for this, Jerry? Have you got it? Put Jerry on full screen here, Matt, if you don't mind. Here we go. You got to read it out, Jerry.
Glad to see you back, Jerry. Missed you yesterday on that big commit. Can you tell me why we take big leads early in recruitment, such as Fasusi, and Turntine, then we have to fight to get them? Do we feel too confident early? Thanks you for the super chat there. I think it's just recruiting in general is what it is. And look, the biggest thing I say in recruiting is if somebody knows you're the leader early, you have that. Bobby finally came to the party. About time. But no, I think if you commit early, you have the X on your back. If you're the leader early in the colleges, know it, you have the X on your back. I think that's what a lot of this comes down to. But I also think there's changes within classes. I mean, you could be the leader early on for player X, but say 2 or 3 other guys jump into the mix. A couple of those guys commit at the same position, and then you're not in the same position you were. Or it could be very simple. Texas values a guy, but somebody else comes in and pushes all their chips to the table and says, "How much do you value this guy?" And if they're going to go, if any college, and I'm saying one college versus another, if somebody goes double what another college is going to go, that doesn't matter if you lead early or not. You're not going to get the player. So I just think there's so many things at play there with these recruitments. There's just more variables than there used to be, Bobby, in my estimation. I like the hat, though.
Hey, you got to wear it. Here we go.
That's the size of Leonard Davis's helmet in college.
I don't know if Leonard Davis would fit this hat. It is that big. Yeah, it is that big. Hey, this one from Lock and Horns. Why is A&M so successful this cycle? Nothing suggests they have turned the corner. That's definitely true. Is it NIL? In large part, yes.
And look, I'm a person that's said for 3 years now that A&M and Texas should both sign top 5 classes every year because they're 2 of the powers in NIL. If they don't, they're not doing it right. I mean, like, now you have to have the right coach in place to take advantage of your strength in NIL, but A&M and Texas should be players every year in recruiting from an NIL standpoint. They absolutely should.
I think it'll be interesting to see whether or not I agree with you based on what Deloitte has to say about that. You can say what you want about A&M, but they're not in a major market. They're in Bryan College Station, which is, not exactly large compared to Austin, which apparently now is driving driverless taxis driverless taxis with Elon Musk. So a little bit different. I don't think that's quite made it to College Station yet. No. So I think that NIL is something that A&M has led with, and maybe it gets folks' attention. And they're we'll see what happens. That's all.
Can I also say something? Nothing pushes A&M more than Texas having success. And what happened this year in the SEC? If people don't think that doesn't have A&M motivated right now in football, I don't know what to tell you. And that was the worst case scenario for Texas A&M. Is Texas rolls right in, and year one goes to the SEC title game when A&M's had 13 years to do it. It hadn't.
What about baseball and what happened at Schlossnagel? They thought their big money guys at A&M spent a ton of money on baseball this year, guys. What did they get in return?
And while people don't think it's a big deal, or people act like it's not a big deal on social media or whatever, it gets under A&M's skin that Texas walked into the SEC and won the Directors' Cup again. That was a dominant year in the SEC in the year Texas entered it. If that doesn't get under your rival's skin, then they don't compete.
Splendid Daddy. Bobby, you said you were super hungover. You okay?
Yeah.
I didn't. Not me. Jerry is the one that had the flu, but he's claiming it was the real flu, not the hungover flu.
I had a 24-hour bug, man. I mean, like, if you ever had those really bad chills, the hot, cold chills, and that's no fun when you're in a hotel either. Like, if you want to be feel like you're on your deathbed for 24 hours, you'd rather be at your place of residence. I mean, I'm waiting for the bill of the hotel bed I sweat in all night.
Oh, gross. 2 more questions here before we let you guys go. We'll see you again tomorrow morning on Coffee and Football. Are kids up front with schools about what other schools are offering them to get them to match or best their offer, or do they play coy and wait and see what the schools value them at? That's from Travis R. Travis, I can tell you that it's a little bit of everything. There is no one set way that guys do it. I will say that the agents try to play the game for the players 9 times out of 10, or the parents do it. It's very rare that the kid himself is involved in that at all. It's either the parents or an agent or a family friend. And so how they all play that is how they kind of design it. Most players, if they want to go to your school, are going to tell you what the deal is. Now, if they don't want to go to your school and they're kind of favoring someone else, they may play a little more coy.
Yeah.
So that's one of those things. All right. Last question for tonight.
Yes.
Zane Petty. GH, we have a legit shot at Tyler Atkinson after this weekend.
I do think Texas has a legit shot at Atkinson. Now, it's going to be a tough recruitment to call. Outside of Georgia, I think a lot of us thought, Georgia would win it. Inside the Georgia market, I'm not sure they think they're going to win it. So it'll be interesting to see which way it goes, but I do think Texas has a legitimate shot.
All right, Jerry.
By the way, you don't tell Ohio State no to visit Texas unless Texas has a realistic shot, a serious shot. That was a major move that was made a week and a half ago.
All right, that's going to do it for tonight. We'll be back tomorrow. Jerry, get some rest, bud. All you guys get some rest. Have a good week ahead. Busy recruiting week. 5 decisions at least. 1 on Thursday, 3 on Friday, and 1 on Sunday coming up. We
haven't talked about the biggest news. Bobby, the real 5-star was Kevin Durant to the Rockets. He's going to close out his NBA career in the state of Texas, in my estimation. I think it's awesome. Other than ticket prices just went up $30 to $40 a head next year, and that kid likes to go to games. What a great thing for Houston. What a great thing for KD. I think KD is about to give the Rockets the 2 best years he's got left in the tank.
Yeah, good deal. All right, he and Emmanuel Acho apparently in a little bit of a Twitter spat today, by the way.
I know whose career I'll take.
Before we let you go, once again, Brett Robin, 512-856-1000. That's 512-856-1000. He's our sponsor, the former Texas running back, a orthopedic specialist now in the Austin and Central Texas area. Again, 512-856-1000. Guys, thank you all so much for joining us here on Monday. Hope you enjoyed my hat. I hope you enjoyed Jerry getting back at it, getting the cobwebs off and dusting himself off to join us. Glad you're healthier, bud. And thank you also to our producer behind the scenes, Matt Hutchison. For Jerry Hamilton, I'm Bobby Burton. Hope you guys have a good night.
Thanks for the super chats.